Time really flies, and I can't believe it is the time to do another monthly TBR. Hi guys, this is Stan. Today let's talk about all the fantasy books that I want to read in March. In case you don't know, my monthly TBR usually consists of 4 books only because it is a goal that I have set earlier this year. It is a tiny number in this book community, but this number is something that I am comfortable with and confident in finishing by the end of the month. So by the end of the year, I would have already read 48 books. Of course, if I finish all the books on my TBR, or by whatever reasons, I have decided to DNF some of the books and there's nothing left on my TBR, I would definitely choose something else on my shelf. Before I talk about my March TBR, I am curious about what you're gonna read in the next month as well. So you could also share your March TBR in the comment. You are here for the books, so let's check about them. The first book on my TBR is a Ghostbra GSFF February book, and it is the Book of Doors by Gareth Brown. Unfortunately, I don't have the physical book at the moment because I am waiting to pick the order up. I think other than the GSFF edition, Ghostbra is also doing another special edition of this book, which I believe is another color of the cover and also the spray edge. Unfortunately, they are all sold out now. Speaking of the GSFF, I am actually quite happy with their choices so far this year. I subscribed to the GSFF last October, and I believe October, November, December, these 3 months, all the books are more or less romantic-ish. But now in 2024, it is like we are getting out of romantasy. In January, we got The Voyage of the Dam, which is like a murder mystery. In February, we got Book of the Doors, which is something a little bit unusual. It is about a bookseller called Casey. One day, she received a mysterious book from her customer, and this book is called The Book of Doors. It is filled with mysterious writing, and the magic in this book could grant the user some special power. Of course, there are some people who would like to exploit this power. So Casey, teaming up with her friend Izzy, try to find somebody who could help them, called Drummer Fox, as a demon is hunting them down. By the sound of it, it is like urban fantasy mixed up with books with magic. These elements are not usually something that I would read, and that is the reason why I would like to enroll in this book subscription. So I'm looking forward to pick this book up. The next book is the one that I am so excited to pick up, and it is Of Darkness and Light by Ryan Cahill, the second book of the Bound and the Broken series. I didn't have the most exciting, the most mind-blowing experience when I read the last book of Blood and Fire, but I have heard so many excellent, fantastic reviews of the upcoming books. The story will just get more epic, so I didn't want to give up so easily. In the last book of Blood and Fire, we follow 3 boys from a village in the middle of nowhere. They are Kellen, Dan, and Rist. They are all preparing for a test called the Proving, which symbolized growth into adulthood. But after this test, something happened. I didn't want to give out too much just in case you're gonna pick this book up, and I find it so difficult to try to summarize a book and do like a TBR for a sequel. I just can't give out too much details. In short, they have to leave their village and start a new journey. A very different, unexpected journey. They will meet different mythical creatures on the way, and there are also magics. One is called Spark, the weaving of elements, and the other one used by the evil called the Bloodstone. The ending of the last book is just a massive cliffhanger, and I couldn't wait to find out what's gonna happen next. Also, don't forget all the side characters. I can't wait to see what's gonna happen to them. This world is just so immersive, and you will be so curious about what's going on with the characters. And trust me, you don't want to put this book down when you read it. The only thing I am not a big fan of is the clear inspiration of the classic fantasy series. From the personalities of our main characters to how the story progressed, it just reminds me so much of other popular fantasy series. With so many fantastic reviews of the next couple of books and also how the first book ends, I have high hope about this book. This book is gonna be great. Fingers crossed. If I am that fast to finish this book and all other books on my TBR, I may pick up the next novella, The Exile. But it really depends on how fast I can read all the books on my TBR, so stay tuned to it. The third book on my TBR is also a sequel, also an indie fantasy, and it is Wrath from the Mountains by D.A. Smith, the second book of the Bane Sword saga. Firstly, you have to look inside because look at it. It is signed and numbered, and you also got like a special message from the author, which makes this book extra special. I got these two from Broken Binding when they're doing end of the year sale, from £50 to £15. It is such a bargain, so I get this series. At that time, I didn't know anything about it at all. By the time I'm filming this TBR video, I nearly finished the first book, The Blood of Outcasts. It is about the revenge of a warrior called Masako in this Japanese-inspired world. Masako, also known as the Hawk, tricked by the Lord Council leading up to her death. Also the death of her clan, her master. But she was brought back to life by some magical power. Since her revival, all she wanna do is to make the Lord Council pay for her debt. Since this book is heavily inspired by Japanese culture, there are quite a lot of references to Japanese folktales like the monster, the creatures in this world. There is also blood magic incorporated with the sword fights here. One thing I do like so far is how brutal, how bloody, how determined Hawk is to make the Lord Council to pay for what they have done. This book is written in the first person point of view of Hawk, and also with the use of present tense. It makes everything a little bit more intense. If I finish this book, then I am up to date with the whole series. Coming to the last book on my TBR, it is a book from last Christmas, and it is Sons of Darkness by Gaurav Mahanti, the first book of a series that I don't know how to pronounce. And by the way, it is probably the last book I got from Christmas, which is great. I clear off the list. I don't know too much about this series yet because there are not too many reviews so far. I believe it is an Indian history or myth-inspired fantasy, which is great because I am in a mood of historical fantasy, and it is probably my favorite subgenre. In this book, we're gonna follow 4 POVs, a king, a queen, an assassin, and also a priest, and there is also a rise of a prophecy, the Son of Darkness. I don't know much about this book, even though I've read the synopsis. I don't know too much what they're gonna do in this world. It is described as Indian tale inspired A Song of Ice and Fire, but we all learned our lesson, never trust these labels. I guess with this description, there might be some political games in this world. One thing I am a little bit scared of is when people read it, they said it is slow burn. Sometimes I like it slow, especially when everything unfolds. That would be rewarding. We shall see whether I like it or not. 1, 2, 3, 4 books. You think my March TBR is finished here? No. Other than these 4 books, I am actually listening to audiobook. It is completely new to me. Before, I didn't know how to focus on the book, but at the same time, you are doing something else. But now I am sort of getting it. Let's say I'm going out for groceries or doing some housework, some tasks that don't occupy my mind too much, then I can listen to the audiobook and also performing those tasks. Since I'm so new to it, I chose YA as my start because they tend to be easier to follow, and also I won't get lost too easily or missing out some details when I'm not focusing on it. So the book I'm going to listen in March is The Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas, the second book of the Throne of Glass series. It is actually not too bad. Of course, I know that Sarah J. Maas' writing got better. I found the first book quite interesting. We follow Selena, an assassin, to go through all the quests to become the king's champion. There are fights, there are mysteries, and of course, Sarah J. Maas. What you gonna expect? Romance. It is quite an interesting journey because it is my first time listening to audiobook. My goal here is to finish the series just by audiobook. There are 7 books in this series, so I expect to finish it by the end of summer. Fingers crossed. So here are the 4+1 books that I'm going to read in March. It is quite a lot, I'm not going to lie, because some of them are like epic fantasy and it is low-key intimidating. Don't forget to also share your March TBR in the comment and I'll keep an eye on it. So if you have enjoyed today's video, make sure you give it a like. If you don't want to miss content from me, make sure you have subscribed to my channel. I'll see you real soon. Goodbye.